Welcome to That's Good Crack
with me, Dan, Colin,
How is? What's the crack?
and Mick.
Yo, yo, yo.
Listen to our podcast every Wednesday.
Welcome to That's Good Crack, EP003. How are you, lads?
Fantastic.
What's the crack? Oh, yeah, I'm super fantastic too. Thanks, Daniel.
Super fantastic. That's a whole new level of fantastic, man.
It's just trying to one up me. That's all. It's
It's the competitor in me, you know.
super fantastic.
How's yourself, Dan?
Sure, I can't complain, and if I did, sure, no one would listen to me.
Sure, that's what this is. You bunch of mad, sober Irish lunatics.
So what have you been up to, lads? Good week?
Yeah, usual stuff. Working and that's it. Working and sports and the usual crack. Not much time for socialising at the minute, you know. But yes, same as always. All good.
And yourself, Mick?
Same. Just been working, gym, jits. Going to
Keeping it gangster.
The joys of freedom. But sure, what I was going to say to you, I'd like to actually just thank, because we got a lot of feedback from different places this week since the last episode. We've had a good few listeners, and we're truly grateful for everyone that's thrown a bit in. And one of the kind of standout ones that we felt we wanted to talk about this evening was we got one from Debo, and what he said was the negative impact of social media on people in recovery, i.e. chasing good feelings, rejection, etc. So that kind of dopamine hit that, you know, for me anyways, when I left down the drink and the drugs, there was a void, you know what I mean? And there's a part of me loves that kick, the bit of adrenaline and that dopamine hit that you can get from you know, other places. And he touched on it, that social media is one. Like, and you lads, you know, is there anything, let's say, Colin, that stuck out for you that you know, in that particular question and that kind of area where you were like chasing a buzz after you left down the drink and drugs?
It's kind of interesting for me because if you're talking about when I initially gave up drinking and drugs, so you're looking back 12 years ago, and to me, I'd never even seen social media before that, you know. So it was an absolutely fantastic escape. You know, I think Mick, it was MySpace, was it? MySpace. Bebo and MySpace, and then onto Facebook. But it was a fantastic escape, and I didn't really know. Like, it wasn't now like where you have social media addiction and all that, where people are actually quite aware of it and aware of what happens. Like you said, the dopamine hits every time you get a notification and that. So. It was hard to see it for what it was that time, but when I remember back, like I used to spend an absurd amount of time on computers, whether it be social media or even Skype. You know, it was like, shit, look at this, you can actually see someone else on the computer screen. You know, it was like Star Trek stuff, you know, to me. But for sure, even to this very day, you know, I'm very aware of it. But I use social media a lot for work. And now even for this podcast, so it's hard to avoid it. It's very hard to avoid it, but I do see how it is an issue, and even from people that come into recovery first, like, and I know lots of people over the years, and you see them, their life revolves around it, whether it's internet dating, even for another one, it doesn't have to be. Well, that would be a form of social media, right? And kind of getting lost in that world, and it is a distraction, I suppose, from the necessary reality. And whether that's positive or negative, I'd say the negative more outweighs the positive a lot, you know. But for me, for sure, even to this very day, 12 years in, man, it's still a bit too much, I would say.
Yeah,
Nick?
it's mad. Like, at the same time, I would have gone on to the likes of the Bebo and the MySpace and stuff like that. And today, I suppose, you have your like button, but like back then, it wasn't so much that, but it's like it was like people even accepting the friends requests, getting messages, being like accepting friends requests from people in bands that I was into. That's the kind of thing that was happening then. And the buzz, like every morning, like wake up on the computer, look and check and see what was on it, and I think the stuff around dopamine, like and people being aware of it. I don't know if they are, like, I think it's I've been looking for the last while. I've been looking into it, because I really curtailed it myself, because I was just on that scroll, hours on the phone, like, any moment I had, I found myself sitting down having a conversation with somebody, and next minute I just had this draw to reach for the phone, and just from listening to different things, whether it be a TED talk or some YouTube video, whatever it is, and people explaining what's going on in the mind, like that these things have been created to addict you, to get you addicted to those hits. I'm only learning about now. I really have tried to kind of curtail it, because it's very, very strong. It's amazingly strong. Like, even the way they changed the like button to red on Facebook, that was actually done because people weren't going into any of the things, They changed it to red and straight away, boom, everyone's just drawn to it, And so, it's a very, very powerful thing, That's only I was an adult when I started this, and when I started in using this, I can only imagine what it is to a kid, but definitely it's something I've started trying to curtail, because it definitely has had a negative impact on my attention span, just having a conversation with a friend, connecting with one of my kids, and I'm meant to be like, don't have a lot of time, and the time I spend with people, next minute I'm looking at a Facebook feed of things that mostly annoy me, It's like, so it's definitely something. But absolutely, it's true.
Like, what the fuck am I even looking at this for? You know what I mean? And like, why am I looking at this? Makes no sense.
My favorite thing on Facebook is unfollow.
Do you remember? Am I correct in saying this? Do you remember that there was like a dislike button at one stage, and they removed that?
I don't remember that one.
I think there was
there's an angry face. That was the introduction.
That's fake news, Danny. Fake news.
Oh, that's right.
Danny's spraying shit. But we can all agree
not again.
we can all agree that people have Facebook are sick fucks. They hire psychologists in order to figure humans out, to make them more strung out on Facebook. Like, it's fucking crazy, man. Facebook, Instagram.
It's crazy. Like, when you think about you're sitting there, right, with a phone, yeah, and like Mick was saying, and you're literally like, you don't think it, but you're scrolling with that thumb, looking at like countless images of absolute stuff that has no relevance to your life, and it's just soaking into your subconscious, and it takes space in your mind, like. And I stopped going on Facebook over a year ago, and because of that choice, because I thought I just had enough. It's consuming too much of my life, and I became hooked to that like button, and people, putting up selfies, like, of myself in the gym or, working out, and it's just like, and then getting dopamine hits off likes, you know what I mean? And for what, like, you know what I mean? To get that kick. And when I removed myself from Facebook and removed Facebook out of my life's, massively changed. I had more attention to what was going on in front of me than being lost in this world. And even now, it's funny that we're doing this podcast. I find myself, because, obviously, we have to use social media in a way to kind of make ourselves out there. And I find myself almost getting a little bit hooked into it again, you know what I mean, looking at it and, checking it, and I can feel that kind of energy that I used to have before when I was using Facebook a lot. Yeah, so
I just look forward to you getting back on, Danny, so we can have more of your selfies. But
I love you too, man.
Beast mode selfies.
That's why I got banned, man.
But like, you know, getting like, you know, just say for instance, like where we're coming from, like, you know, I mean, people with kind of addictive behavior, you know, if you've had, they've proven and they've shown, like, you know what I mean, that with like people who are addicted to whatever substance and abuse them, it rewires your brain. It rewires. I'm actually gonna. You can start a non-alcoholic drinking game for this podcast. Every time we say dopamine, you take a shot of orange juice. But it's like it's gonna be dopamine. But you know, it's a big orange juice. It's gonna be a big part of it. But like we have a rewired brain from the abuse we gave it, like, you know what I mean, because, you know, drugs, there's certain types of drugs that can, from, like, they say, I think it's like two times to 10 times the amount of natural dopamine you get from, say, having sex or eating chocolate or doing whatever you can get from these things, and it just rewires your brain, the way we accept these things. Like, and when you can get something like a Facebook where, you know, you can get this from just, like, you know, a number on a red dot, I mean, on your, you know, it's very, very addictive, like, you know what I mean, and especially for people who have abused substances.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Oh, sorry, I was distracted by taking my shot of orange juice because you'd said dopamine a few times. Yeah,
Danny, just quickly for a second. Can we just confirm or deny that you were banned from Facebook because your selfies were too sexy?
No, I'm guessing they scared the living shit out of people. Do you know what I mean? So I got removed, man. I tried 5 times to get back on Facebook just for business reasons, and every time I got blocked, the minute I put my picture up, must have been those selfies, man. Just like.
Gym selfies, they're on fire, you know. It's like, no, we can't have it.
It does sound seriously sketchy, Danny, though. That
you know what?
The header.
You know what? I'm truly happy that
all I can think of is the people I know that's on Facebook. You know what I mean, and what they're up to, and you can't get on. I'm like, what was he at?
What sort of mayhem was this guy
There's
causing?
nothing wrong with putting helicopter photographs on Facebook, but anyways, on the next, I'm talking about the ones that take off and land. So on talking about dopamine, lads taking shots. Another, you know, let's move on for me. Like, you know, when I left down drinking drugs, I chased a buzz in so many different areas of my life. And one that particularly stands out for me, and I've been watching lately because I've introduced it back into my life, was motorbikes. And for many, many years, I had bikes in recovery, and not like put bikes, bikes that you know would do, you know, 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, you know, and the pure adrenaline hit you would get from, you know, accelerating from one of these bikes, the wheelies, everything, I can equate to equivalent to the hit that I would have got from drinking or drugging, in some cases possibly higher, like. And it's one of the areas that I had to really kind of pull back from, because like the drinking and drugging, when I got myself into a circle of people that were all doing that, that was the same buzz. Everyone was on that buzz. You'd go out on a Sunday, you'd meet for coffee, and then the lads that were, you know, having a nice easy drive were, you know, doing their thing. And then the lads like myself and a few others were literally going to find the craziest roads, the fastest roads, and go as quick as possible and get a hit out of it. And unfortunately, in some cases, it ended in a very sad end. And so, yeah, for me, like, that's another area in my life that, you know, I started chasing a buzz in a negative way after I gave up drinking and drugging. Would any of you have had similar circumstances, or where this has happened to you guys as well?
Yeah, well, I think just around the bikes, it's a big one. Like we know lots of guys, friends who have been like badly injured off bikes, and know people who've been killed, and I'm not saying it was like, bikes really at the end of the day, a lot of the time it is that kind of buzz. And myself personally, no, I had some friends got badly injured while I was drinking and using, and also when I came into early recovery. So I just kind of parked that one. I was like, it wasn't for me, but definitely anything I went about in, like, when I did get to start this journey, it was always looking to get the buzz out of it. Like Colin said about last week, just a simple thing like try different things, just go kayaking. And literally, like, we got into the boat and it was like, oh, you go down waterfalls in these jokes, don't you? And it was like, and straight over, like, and no business whatsoever, like, and just off the edge.
But I love, sorry to interrupt just quickly, I loved when the waterfall turned out to be shit, that we seen the next best thing was a really high bridge. So we abandoned the kayaks just to jump into
this, like, but it was always, trying to push it, always trying to get, like, what's the biggest buzz you can get with this, For me, I used to bring my son to a skate park, and I used to spend hours there, and way easier than actually parenting, you're just going to bring him and give him a skateboard, and but like it got to the point where I'd be waiting around that long. He used to do rollerblading, or whatever you call it, and he didn't do skateboarding. So when he'd be on the blades, I'd get the skateboard and I started to go, And same thing, got up on a ramp, went down, got a buzz for it, and I was just gone, man. Next couple of days, I had my own board. I was over there, and it was like the biggest ramps. Like, what can I do? Totally ridiculous stuff. Trying it, and I kept pushing constantly. The second I get to achieve something that I was trying to do, I would be on to the next thing. And I ended up getting absolutely broke up, doing absolutely crazy stuff. I was in my 30s, and I was over, like, pushing it. And I ended up, like, getting, like, still to this day, my two knees are, like, I don't know what, creaking from the accident I had, while I was doing it. But, that's for me, that's the way I was, It's like, give me something to jump off, I'm gone. Give me something that I get a bit of a buzz out, and it's like, drain every bit of buzz you can get, even if it hurts, which it often did.
Yeah, so for me, it wasn't necessarily about chasing adrenaline, which I did a lot when I got into things. But like with motorbikes and that kind of stuff, I was absolutely too much of a bitch. I got on the back of one day, man, and that was the end of it. He went from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 3.4 seconds, and it felt too weird to hold on to him. So I nearly. It's like,
that is a weird thing, man, with someone holding on to a fella, like.
I didn't know it was supposed to, like, hug him, you know what I mean? I didn't know I was supposed to do. Don't get me wrong, I ain't afraid to hug a guy, you know what I mean? I'm a hugger. But no, it felt weird. I didn't know what to do, so I was trying to hold the back of the bike, and I was nearly coming off for the whole fucking experience. Like, it was doing like 100 kilometers an hour in about 2 seconds. That caught me up. But I do, and like, so a lot of my dopamine, do a shot, would have came from work. So when I say work, it was like achieving different things in work. So I kind of, after a few years of being drug and alcohol free, I really started getting into photography and working in film and TV and fashion and that kind of stuff. And it was always about chasing the next job, chasing the next personality, chasing the next person to work with, So it's like they say with chasing women and girls, it's all in the chase, that old kind of saying. And it was kind of the same with me for work, and it drove me on a lot. Like I went, it's that obsessive kind of drive that allowed me to achieve a lot in a short space of time and experience a lot of really cool stuff. But the problem with that is what goes up comes down, isn't it? You know, so you experience, I don't know, working in film and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of rejection and different things. So you get the other side of it. You get those amazing feelings, and you get those really down. You know, but you learn. I suppose I've always learned to kind of pick myself up after an hour and 2 hours and just get on with it. But definitely that was my main thing. And it was the same like with sports and stuff and athletics. And when I started getting into athletics again as an adult, because I'd done it a lot as a teenager, I would have started running, but I started running every day, you know, every day. It wasn't just, you know, a few kilometers. It was like 10 kilometers. Okay, can I do 15 kilometers? And it was like, okay, now I can do 10 kilometers. How fast can I do that 10 kilometers, you know? And then it was like, fuck it, I only have 1 kilometer left. Let's push it to the max, you know, because that rush that you get when you stop running is this like overwhelming feeling. And it's actually a very beautiful feeling, you know. And I really, really loved how it made me feel. So, but it was always the case. I could never find a balance in it, you know. At times I would now, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of time you just kind of get carried away, and whether it's with work or with sports or whatever. It was the same with martial arts, and martial arts made me feel amazing. So I went and stayed in Thailand for 2 months, you know, in a small little training camp in the middle of Phuket, like, and lived there training Muay Thai and stuff, and it was pretty fucking cool, you know. Yeah, it was pretty cool, but yeah, that's kind of my thing, was work and sports. And pushing myself.
Achieving, like, you know, it's another thing.
Achieving, yeah.
Another good feeling, like, and it's hilarious. Like, you know, Colin get a guy into Muay Thai, and next minute he's living in Thailand for 2 months, and we went snowboarding a couple of months ago. And it was actually when he went, I said to my son, I said, listen, wait for it. I'm going to get a text. We have to go. We have to go to the Czech Republic. You know what I mean? I have a house organised, everything, and beep, 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 beep. Next, I look at my phone. I actually showed it to him. It was hilarious. But like, that's brilliant.
I just want everyone to experience the great feelings.
Absolutely. But it's like, that's what I mean. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's balls and all straight in. Like, you know what I mean? And it's amazing. Like, you mean, you get great experience in life through doing that. And for me, it's like any of these things in and of themselves are not bad things. Like, you know what I mean? Whether it be Facebook, whether it be obviously achieving in work, sex, chocolate, you know, adrenaline seeking, or both together, you know, whatever it may be. But it's like, for me, it's something that is like occurred to me because I've done it all. There, like, you know what I mean, there's very, very little I could say at this stage that I haven't tried, and that I haven't kind of tried too much of, that I got a good feeling from. And it's like, I just kind of realized that at some stage, you know, at some stage, I have to be okay with myself. You know, we kind of talked about last week when we were talking about, you know, your identity. And really what we were talking about is how other people see us. You know, it's not really, like, we didn't really get into that kind of deeper thing of like how we see ourselves, or, you know, who we really are, or any of those type of things. But I think with any of these things, like all these great experiences and everything, you know, they can all be taken away, you know. And that for me, and at different times they are, you know, sometimes I can train, I get injured, you know what I mean, I get injured, I can't work. This has happened to me. I can't work, can't train, can't do any of those things that give me a good feeling. And you know, it's like, and then it can really show me where I'm at in myself. Like, you know what I mean, am I doing okay, or am I just like, you know, making myself, or trying to make myself feel okay with all this kind of stuff. So, you know, for me, I don't get rid of all these stuff out of my life. You know, I really do try and stay away from any more social media stuff. Like, I've come off Twitter, I've come off these things. I never really got into them, but I've actually come off them, and I've made it my business to cut back on Facebook and other things, you know. And I kind of got to myself, doing a bit of work on yourself, I find, you know what I mean, there is reasons why we seek out this stuff. Well, there was for me anyway. And whether it be back to the drinking and the drugging, or whether it be this stuff now, I feel if you address that kind of stuff and you're just aware of it, it doesn't really get out of hand in the same way. Like in a way, you kind of realize, you go to yourself, right, this is actually affecting my life outside of things. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting here. I'm not present in the conversation with my loved ones. It's actually affecting me work. You know what I mean? I'm actually not being as productive as I should be because I have this overwhelming urge to check how many likes have come up on me new profile picture. So I find, the more I become aware of that stuff, the less out of control it gets. Or, I just kind of cop on and go, Jesus, man, leave it down.
It is a great profile picture, though.
It is. And Colin took it.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's definite, like that kind of, and I like what you touched on about the concept of those things being something to fix you as opposed to something to add to your life. So if there's something that fixes you, almost like, it makes you feel like something better than you are, or fixes that feeling of not being good enough, that you need to identify with this and it repairs you. And then when it's gone, as you said, if you see yourself as a fighter and it's the only thing you see yourself and it's what makes you feel okay, and then you get an injury and you can't fight and you can't train, and then all of a sudden you feel bad again, you know what I mean? Whereas if it's something that adds to your already okay self, then when it's gone, it's okay that it's gone, and it'll come back again if it needs to be. And I really like the way you touched on that if you're okay in yourself, that these things can be okay on the outside as well, And I think that's kind of a point that I took from that, which was, really, really, really good, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the times those things were things that I used to fix me. And I liked the way you were talking about it too, because it just describes me perfectly. I'd find bikes and it'd be like, yes, okay, everyone needs to be a biker, you know what I mean? Bikes are brilliant. They're the best thing. Everyone should wear a helmet. You should have a bike. You should have a bike. The whole world should be on bikes. You know what I mean? And then it's like surfing. Everyone should be a surfer. You should buy a board. You know what I mean? Fighting. Everyone should be a fighter. You know what I mean? I can only talk to fighters because fighters are cool. You know what I mean? So it's like that. It's like that straight away. And it's like, and I had the same thing with drinking and drugging. It was like, the first time I found a drink or a certain drug, I was like, oh yeah, everyone has to do this because it's the answer. But if the answer is inside myself already, then this is just, and I think it links back to the last episode where we talked about finding our identity, that these are parts of our identity. They shouldn't be our identity, if that makes sense. I don't know what you think of that, lads. That's another Danny ramble for you guys.
Yeah, no, amazing stuff. But like, it is. It is, and it can be something that we can use for the positive. It can make us succeed. It can make us excel in things. But for me, it's a balance. It's about how do I find a balance in this. That's been the biggest struggle of my life to date. Is since I've gotten off everything, is to how do I find this balance? Because I always, my brain is just wired in that way. If I get a good feeling from something, I want a lot of that thing, you know what I mean? It's like, I just want a lot of that thing, I find it very, very difficult to live differently, But awareness, you know what I mean? I think even people, just to actually look up, back to even the Facebook thing and the Twitter thing and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Look up, it's really interesting, you know what I mean? They say that the dopamine systems are stronger than the opium systems in the body, and the opium system is a strong thing, so it's even more addictive, and I just find it fascinating, you know what I mean? And it's and especially if you're a parent, my kids are almost grown up now, you know what I mean? And I had no idea about this stuff while they had smartphones and doing all this type of things, you know what I mean? They probably would have, you know what I mean, killed me in my sleep if I had taken it from them anyway at that stage. But it's, I really don't think that it has been shown yet, the power and the negativity of this thing. Like the guy who made the like button, this is an interesting thing. He developed the like button on Facebook. He has come off social media and he regrets it. Like he sees it as he really, really regrets doing it. He understands the negative impact that it's actually after having on society. It's after having a massive one. I don't really think it's been shown yet, how negative an impact it's had. But on a personal level, the impact it had was interpersonal. Like it was actually, when I started to see how much it was affecting my relationships and not only, it was just how much I actually wanted to engage with people. It was like I've only had a certain amount of time where I could be engaged in a conversation or present in interactions with them before I got the draw to look at the phone. And that's a powerful thing, these are people that I like, people I wanted to be around, for me, a lot of the time now, I leave the phone in my pocket, I won't even put it out on the table, because I just see it as being disrespectful now, you know what I mean? And it does take away from my connection with people. But I just think, back to my original point, I just think, Google it. It's really interesting and kind of scary on how powerful these things are.
It is, but that's what I mean. I was saying earlier, was there is a bit more of awareness around it now. It's not that people in general pay heed to the awareness, but we understand we understand that you can actually become addicted to this stuff. It can have a negative effect on your life, Whereas I didn't realize that 12 years ago. I don't think many people did, But you can see it with kids nowadays. One of the biggest punishments to a kid is to take its phone off, take their phone off them. You know what I mean? The world is over. Life is as they know it, as Crump came to a grinding halt. Just turn the Wi-Fi off in the house is like the end of the world. You're the worst fucker in the world.
I have this like mental image right now, like, do you know what I mean, of a mobile phone, hanging on a drip stand, you know what I mean, above you, like, and just dripping likes into your body, making you feel okay. Do you know what I mean? I have this mental image as we're talking, like, and that's almost what it's like. I think I've seen that image somewhere where, this concept of like likes are fixing you, you know what I mean? A like, gives you some sort of value, and it's, and I'm saying that because, I was very much part of that, I'm very much hooked into that, where in some way likes made me feel better about myself, you know what I mean? And depending on who liked or when they liked or whatever they liked, it defined how I could feel. And I liked what you said, Mick, as well. Like, it just, it could take you away from the people that you're with right there and then, you know what I mean? And I've noticed a lot in society now that people are having conversation, so you're sitting with people that you probably have conversations with on your phone while you're with other people. So it's almost like you've got the picture of one movie and the sound of another, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? When you're with someone, you know what I mean? Because you're just so distracted by everything that's going around, the images on your phone. And I like that, I struggle with that, putting the phone away when I'm with people, and I should really, most of the time I do, but I do find myself putting that phone face up, you know what I mean? And it distracts from the attention for the people who are right in front of me, So yeah. So I suppose, is there, like, for you guys, is there anything else that kind of stands out, not so much with the internet side of things, and, that, really stood out for you as something that you were really, went mad for when chasing the buzz?
I've never had any obsessions. Sorry, I'll take a pass at this one. I've never been obsessed with anything in my life.
Yeah, listen, I think, Danny, I think we've covered so much, and I think you can just insert anything into that. You have your dopamine hits, which are your sex, food, in like social media, achieving whatever it may be, you know. And then you have your adrenaline hits, you know what I mean? You have your biking, you have your, like, you know, whatever it may be, you know, jumping out of a plane. Yeah, rock climbing, you know, without ropes.
High diving in Helsinki. Do you remember that one?
I do. Cliff diving in Sydney. But no, it is. It's any of that type of stuff, you know, and it can be a great addition to life, you know. Like, you know, but I think if you're looking, I think it's a great thing comes up on my phone now, and it tells me my screen time. You know, it's down by whatever, it's up by whatever, you know. And I'm like, how much was I on it? It's like, what? It's like, I had no idea. If you asked me, like, you know what I mean, if you asked me 100 times, I wouldn't have gotten to the hours that, like, you know what I mean, per day that I was on. Yeah, so I think, like, you know what I mean, like, as far, like, from my side of things, I've kind of covered it, you know what I mean? But I just think it's like, just get awareness around it, you know. With any of this stuff done to excess, it's going to cause issues. It's caused issues in my life. Finding a balance, whatever way, you know, you can do that. For me, anyway, it's helped an awful lot. Before we end, you would say, Colin, you know, I'm not saying we're going to end, but whenever you get a chance, you have another question, do you?
Oh yeah, I got a question here as we were. No, I didn't get a chance to read it yet, so excuse me if it's like filthy or anything like that. So shall I just read it out?
Yeah,
It's quite a long one. It's from Anna. Hey Anna, shout out to Anna.
Hey, Anna.
All right, Anna.
The absolute legend. Anna is from Dublin. So she says, I go out, excuse me now. I go out for lots of work dinners or nights out. I live in the city, so normally I don't drive when I'm out. I don't want to search for excuses all the time because people don't understand why I don't want to drink. Sometimes it takes a long time for people to leave me in peace, offering different positions from the alcohol menu. Sometimes it's really hard to stay breezy and cool about it if people are pushing you every 5 minutes. And when I'm more direct, firm, and I want to drink, it gets awkward and cold. I want to ask, what's your solution when people insist you have a drink or ask you questions why you don't want one? When I answer, I don't drink, no thank you, it's not enough. I have to stay cool in those situations because dinners and work nights. So P.S. I love the podcast, keep on going. Thanks Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
Love you too. But
Thanks.
I just want to jump in there, right, because I have a lot of experience in that from this perspective, and I'm going to tell a funny thing that I done on a number of occasions, but I don't suggest it. Like I remember at parties in London and that kind of thing through work, so like kind of fashion crowd, and you know, I'd get there, you know, and people would be absolutely whacking cocaine, you know, and that kind of vibe, and you know, you'll have a glass of champagne. I'd be like, nah, go on, you'll have a glass of champagne. No, I don't drink. With just one glass, you know, it's not a drink. I'm like, no, I don't drink at all, zero. And I'd be like, okay, I should go on, just the one. That kind of thing. It'd go on for a few minutes. And one time I turned around and said, no, because I actually prefer heroin and crack. You know, and I can honestly say that ended the conversation. Instantly.
And they walked away quite quickly.
Well, I'm not saying I prefer heroin or crack. I'm just saying that was the most extreme thing I could possibly think of that point in time, just to get them to shut the fuck up and stop annoying me. I just don't understand it. Like, why the fuck do people feel the need, like, to make it? It's more about making them feel comfortable. I think I could be wrong, but that's what I get from it, because I'm perfectly happy, like, when I'm there, you know.
It's people want. You know what I mean? They want to feel okay about what they're doing, you know what I mean? And if everyone's doing the same thing, you know what I mean, people feel more comfortable with that. I have found anyway that, like, oftentimes, you know, I'm just not going to be able to make people feel comfortable with the fact that I'm not drinking, you know, and I had to become okay with that, you know. I'm just like, you know, I know I'm not going to be doing it. Unfortunately, I haven't found a way necessarily of, if a person's going to get cold, like as you say, from saying you're not going to drink, it's very unlikely there's something you're going to say that's going to be able to stop that. There's other people that are cool with it. Other people are okay with it. If it comes down to it, I'll turn around and I'll say, listen, I'm allergic to it. They go, what? I says, yeah, break out in handcuffs. So but Anna, apologies, right? We're probably not saying anything that you can actually use, but you know what I mean. One thing we'll say, do try that. You know, maybe the joke will just loosen it up and stuff like that. But no, I just think, Anna, if this is something that you're going to do, you just have to become okay with that and like realize that, like, you know, it's them that has the issue. It's not you. Yeah. You know, you're just there, and you just be yourself, and you know, just be strong in yourself around it. It does take a bit of time, but like, I actually just start to see that, like, that's the other person that has the issue. It's not me, and if all else fails, you could use Collins.
But I do like, I just thought of another extreme example that I might use in the future. So it's like, go on, you'll have a drink. No. Why don't you drink? Because I usually beat the fuck out of people. Get drunk, you could say.
The thing for me is I'd regularly get in bars, you know, with barmen. Why don't you drink? And I'd literally say to them, same thing. I'd try and make a joke out of it, like break away from the seriousness. And because I feel okay with the fact that I don't drink, I'd literally say, well, put it this way, if I did drink, you wouldn't have a bar in the morning. Because
you know what I found was funny. One of the most strangest countries, actually, with an attitude towards not drinking. And I don't mean to get on to or generalising anything, just from my own experience. I found Australia very strange. You know, when you'd ask them if they had any non-alcoholic drinks or anything like that in a bar or something, they'd actually start laughing at you. I had many a barman laugh at me when I asked that, you know, to be like, what are you talking about, mate? That is an absolutely terrible Australian accent. I know, as I was doing it, I knew it was brutal.
Non-alcoholic beer, mate.
Yeah, mate. But no, they used to laugh at me, like, I'd laughed at me a number of times when I'd be asking for it, you know. It seems outrageous.
I remember I was in an Irish bar here in Tenerife, and I was with my girlfriend, you know, and I was like, I got a still water, it wasn't a problem. I said to her, I says, what do you want? And she says, can I have a coffee? Like, and I was like, it was 11 o'clock at night, you know what I mean? I was like, I can't really ask for coffee. Please ask. And I was like, oh, here do I have to ask? You know what I mean? This is an Irish bar. I don't really want to go up and ask for a coffee. So I went up to your man and says, look, it's not for me.
Just asking for a friend.
Yeah, I'm just asking for that girl over there. She wants a coffee. And he went, no, not having a coffee. And I was like, geez, okay, sorry about that. And he goes, I'm only messing with you. I'll make you coffee. And when he came out with the coffee, he announced the cup of coffee in the whole bar. This cup of coffee is for this girl right here. And I was just in stitches laughing. Like, he announced this coffee and literally brought it down, like, up in the air. This who'd want a coffee, like, made a big joke out. But in the end, you know, I mean, someone could have taken it the wrong way, but I found it funny, and Sahar found it funny as well, so she did. So, yeah, I mean, I think as well, in that case, bring it back to what Mick said, you know, if we didn't feel comfortable about it, we might take it the wrong way. But we both found it funny, you know what I mean? And did we even answer that question?
Yeah, no, I think like as you say with the question, I think, Anna, you know, when you can, like, use honest excuses, you know what I mean? I just don't get into it in general. Generally, if I go to an event, I'm driving. Someone asks me, are you having a drink? I'll just say, if I don't know them, you know what I mean? I've no reason just to stop all that kind of stuff. I just go, I'm driving. If it's someone I know, they know I don't drink. But in a work context, things like that, sometimes, you know, I just play it by ear. Sometimes if I need to kind of be blunt and straight about it, I will, like, you know, in a light-hearted way, because it's not that big a deal. I'll just go, yeah, no, I'm not having a drink, you know. I'm up early in the morning, which I generally am. You know, things like that. I think an honest excuse is cool with me. I don't lie. you know what I mean? I don't make up kind of mad lies around it, you know what I mean? But I think sometimes you can avoid it in ways like that, and then there's some times where you're going to have to be straight up about. And if someone's being called about, well, he's an asshole. So there's not much you can do about that.
As you're talking there, I'm kind of thinking, what's the most extreme thing you could say? The most outrageous thing to say to someone?
I think we've said pretty much, you know what I mean? We've covered that. We've covered that, you know what I mean? So maybe we'll try and give the girl something she actually could say.
I can't find it. I'm drunk, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I have to work later. I drive ambulances.
The Batmobile doesn't drive itself. But
if you use, I would advise people to use the heroin and crack thing, because it's a showstopper straight away. Game over, you know what I mean?
And say it really, really loud so the whole venue can hear you.
Oh yeah. You just shut the whole thing down on the spot. Yeah. So the text messages are flying in from me.
Yeah. So basically, because Colin, you're going into Darth Vader mode again. Mick sent me a wrap it up, so I'm gonna boom. No, I'm not gonna wrap because actually you just sorry, Mick. I do try. So we're gonna I think leave it at that. I hope we answered the question. Hope you could take, particularly, I would go with Colin's piece of advice. You know, take that, and try that as loud as you can in a venue.
It's a cracker.
Yeah, it's an absolute cracker. All right. And that's it. And guys, as always, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. I think a lot of cool points covered, and I'm looking forward to next week's podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe to That's Good Crack on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever you're listening to it right now.